Well, speaking of which, as the president has pushed for the SALT caucus, as we could call it, to let it go, his comments might have engendered a bit of blowback, according to reporters also who are on Capitol Hill. They're hearing that caucus members have reached out to the speaker to tell him they're a no on the bill after the president's speech at the conference. Joining me now for more is Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey, who is Congressman. First of all, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Second of all, I mean, you're among the handful of people in the heart of whether this thing moves forward. What did you think of the president's message today? And you're about to introduce an amendment at 1 a.m. tonight to repeal the cap entirely?
That's how it should be. I mean, we should go back. There should be a full repeal. And I've always had the position we should fully restore the deduction. People should not be taxed twice on the same income. What did the president do today? He just antagonized many of his colleagues in the Republican Party, and you see the Republicans, as it is, fighting with each other over what the level should be, and not just about SALT, the state and local tax deduction, but of course about Medicaid, about green investment and green jobs and manufacturing. So you're seeing a lot of fight between the Republicans right now, and I think they're having a lot of problems, not just on SALT, but on a lot of issues.
As I understand it, though, if you raise the cap from the levels being proposed now, you basically only benefit those making over $400,000 a year, and it would cost as much as like all of the rest of the tax cuts combined.
No, I mean, right now, if the best thing to do, and what my amendment that I'm going to introduce today does, is it actually just says, let's not deal with the SALT piece now. Take that out of this package, because at the end of the year, it would just go back to the way it used to be for 100 years. People will be able to fully deduct their state and local taxes before paying their federal taxes, so they don't get taxed twice on the same income, which is outrageous. That would be a huge tax cut and benefit for middle-class families around the country, especially in Jersey, where I live, and in the Northeast, which would be a very big benefit, of course, to people who are struggling with higher prices and higher taxes as it is. So we should really give them relief. And so to me, that's the best way forward. But what you're talking about here, right, because by the way, at the end of this year, it fully expires, so everything would go back to the way it was. But the bigger picture is, what about Medicaid cuts that they're talking about, where you're seeing a lot of fights, literally taking away help to seniors and children and families who need extra help? And that's what you're seeing a big struggle within the Republican Party about. Of course, all these manufacturing jobs that you just mentioned, things that would be affected like nuclear and other key energy jobs of the future, right? So you're talking about women's health care. There are a lot of things that would be affected by this, not to mention it would hugely skyrocket the national debt. Right, so it's not fiscally responsible on top of everything else.
Yeah, like I hear you, but the cost of SALT, even if you raise the cap to $124,000 for a married household, you're talking about it costing almost $1 trillion over the next decade.
You're talking about giving back a tax deduction that the red moocher states took away. So my feeling is, why are we giving all these benefits to these red moocher states who take, and expect the Northeast and states like mine, New Jersey, to pay for them? And that's part of what's always been my issue. Why are you doubly taxing people in Jersey to pay for these moocher states that take so much from the federal government and barely pay anything in? Right? It doesn't make any sense to me why Mississippi and West Virginia get more than $4 for every dollar they send to the federal government. And you got states like mine that get about 67 cents for every dollar they send to the federal government. You know, my feeling is, if they want to call it 1-to-1 even, we'll have a conversation. But in the meantime, don't think you could just pickpocket the people in New Jersey and other states, all these hardworking middle-class families, a cop and a teacher who work so hard to make ends meet, and you're not giving them back tax relief. You're just taking more for yourself in these other states.
I don't think the cop and teacher are making $500,000. You know, I understand that they might.
By the way,
benefit
they're paying more than $30,000. But they're paying more than $30,000 between state and local taxes and property taxes.
No, they are. Look,
So
I know
their
this better than anybody.
Go up.
I'm living in the middle of this. You know, hearing, and you're campaigning for governor, so I totally understand.